Hi guys, Ming Tian here from Ming. Today we have a very special watch. It's something that I was challenged to make during one of the events we held in Singapore for some of our collectors. And it came out of a very unusual question. That is to say, what would I make if I was making something just for myself? And that's a slightly strange thing to ask, because the whole premise of the Ming brand has always been we make the kind of watches that we ourselves like to wear. And that's always held true. Now, having said that, there are some things that I would like to do that I think commercially might not work quite so well for certain reasons. And those are ideas that I've had kicking around the back of my head that basically never saw the light of day until today. So today's watch is the 2101, which is also known as the Project 21 or the Black Box. So what happened was at the dinner, I said, if I could make something like this, would you be interested? And we got a decent number of takers around the table, enough to make the project a go, but under the condition that basically nobody would see what it was that they were getting until the watch was going to be delivered. And of course now that has taken place. The watches have been delivered, and it's my pleasure to present to the rest of you the Project 21. So as with every single Special Projects Cave release, the P21-2101 has a bunch of unique technologies for us. So firstly, we start with the same kind of borosilicate dial technology that we first debuted in the 21 Series 3, except here it's thinner. We've got patterns etched on both the upper and lower surfaces, and we have patterns further etched into the main dial body itself. So this gives the dial an extreme amount of depth for the thickness of the watch. The case is in tantalum, and in order to machine that, it's actually a single-piece case where the bezel and case are integrated. Now, we've also challenged our partner for this one, who's a very special, another very special person for us. We started with a polished bezel. We moved to satin finish on the curved surface of the bezel and the lugs. And then after that, we transition into a very interesting bead-blasted surface here, where we use a different media to oxidize the tantalum and make it a little bit darker. The case back is satin finish once again before you get to the display back and the movement itself. So I said we had a special partner for the case. And he's, of course, one of our AHA Alternative Horological Alliance co-founders. That's Mr. Joshua Shapiro. So the cases for the Project 21 were made by him in California. They're an absolutely exquisite piece of work and a colossal pain from what he tells me, not least because the case back is not actually round. The case back has a slightly unusual oval shape to both accommodate the crown geometry as well as be able to fit everything into this extremely thin 6.5 millimeter profile. Let's talk about the movement for a bit. This is not a very big watch. It's 35.5 millimeters. It's a very, very classical size by 6.5 millimeters, which means that proportionally it looks correct. It wears very nicely on the wrist. It slips under a cuff. It's an extremely discreet watch. But what's really special about this is we used a vintage movement from the earlier part of last century that actually held the record for being one of the thinnest, if not the thinnest movement, and held that record for a very long time, actually. That's, of course, the Frederic Piguet Caliber 21. At just 1.75 millimeters thick, it allows us to still keep the watch extremely thin, but at the same time have this multiple layer dial structure that keeps a huge amount of apparent depth, despite the fact the case is really thin. The movement we have refinished, completely reworked. It actually carries new plates and bridges. In the production version, those are 5N rose gold treated. We have a skeletonized center bridge to be able to show off and see the wheel train. And the whole thing basically is brought up to the same kind of aesthetic standards that we have along the rest of our Special Projects Cave pieces. I'm going to address the elephant in the room, or in this case, a particularly small elephant in this room. And that's, of course, why did we make it this size? The main inspiration for me for this watch is a lot of those vintage watches that have this very, very nice delicacy to them, but at the same time, unfortunately, they feel a little bit too fragile to wear every day. I wanted to bring back that feeling, but in a much more solid, dense feeling modern iteration that is more than capable of seeing the rigors of daily life, and I think we've done that successfully here. Project 21, of course, has modern water resistance standards, modern gaskets. In fact, there are 2 gaskets in the case back and a further 2 in the crown, and there's no bezel, so this is actually a surprisingly robustly water-resistant watch. And then on top of that, of course, the movement has been fully serviced, modernized, refinished. It's a hand wind movement that'll run for 42 hours, but at the same time, you can use it every day with no issue. And that's exactly how I want our pieces to be enjoyed. The idea and the concept of what this watch is supposed to be remains intact, but at the same time, it fits in with how we wear our watches today. Just want to quickly highlight that you may see a second version of the Project 21, and that is the subscription version for those customers who decided to challenge me and trust my judgment that I would deliver something interesting out of this horological omakase. So they got a dark blue dial and a rhodium-coated movement with a heat blue titanium mid-bridge, which is different from the production version. It has a rose gold dial and a rose gold movement. So we'll be making 15 of the production version of the 2101. I don't think they're going to stick around for very long because I think this is the ultimate sort of stealthy if you know watch. Yeah, and it's obviously what I'm wearing at the moment. Thank you very much.